Good afternoon and welcome to Match of the Day. I can promise you a spectacular hour of football entertainment with 3 First Division matches littered with exceptional goals, a transfer exclusive, what you think should be done about cynical fouls, and an offbeat look at one of the many teams who yesterday began the FA Cup trail in its centenary year. Well, I know it's Sunday, but it's not quite time for songs of praise yet, nor is it yet another ill-judged attempt to change the Match of the Day music. All will be revealed later. But our main match today is Liverpool against Norwich, and whether Liverpool can check their slump at the expense of Norwich, you'll have to wait and see. But win, lose or draw, John Bong questions his future as manager of Norwich City.
If that meant that the best way out was for me to leave, then that's what would have to happen, because I want Norwich City to go on now. I mean, if you go down there now with the cameras or as the pressmen, you'll see a vast difference in the last 7 years, and it really has been built up into something like a First Division football club, and that's what I wanted to remain.
Our other 2 matches are the London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham, and our mini-match takes us to Goldstone Road for brief highlights of Brighton and West Bromwich Albion.
Well, the big transfer story is that Chelsea have this morning made an offer for Queen's Park Rangers former England international Tony Kerry. More about that later, plus a word or two about the West German international who's been interesting Wolves and Arsenal.
Well, let's go now to Anfield, where whichever way you look at things, they're not quite what they used to be. But the most significant change was in the size of the crowd, 35,315, adding up to a drop of 16,000 from last year for the first 2 home games. But both Liverpool and Norwich were too short of points to let that unhappy sign of the times take their minds off the main objective. Your commentator, John Motson.
Kenny Dalglish is fit to return after missing the League Cup defeat at Bradford, so he maintains his ever-present First Division sequence since joining Liverpool just over 3 years ago. The man who makes way for him is David Fairclough, who drops to substitute. Fairclough, who scored a hat-trick against Norwich on Match of the Day last season when Liverpool won 5-3 at Carrow Road. And it was in that match that Justin Fashanu of Norwich scored the BBC's goal of the season. But the 2 other Norwich goal scorers that day, Kevin Reeves and Martin Peters, have since been transferred and replaced by Clive Woods from Ipswich, playing in midfield at number 7, and number 9, Joe Royle, who won a championship medal here on Merseyside 10 years ago. But he's a mere youngster compared to number 5, Duncan Forbes, who returns to First Division action at the age of 39. World Cup referee Pat Partridge from County Durham. So can Liverpool rediscover their championship touch against a side who held them to a 0-0 draw here at Anfield last season? But 2 years ago, Liverpool beat Norwich 6-0 here. That was Souness with a fine ball out to Alan Kennedy. Driven across, and Dalglish coming in, tried to get a touch on it. And a very positive start by Liverpool. Fine ball from Graham Souness, straight from the kickoff. And Alan Kennedy's driven cross or shot going just beyond the far post. Free kick against Alan Kennedy for the challenge on Joe Royle, who is giving Liverpool some uncomfortable moments when the ball's in the air. Fashanu coming in. Case. It was Downs who was penalised. And here's Case again. Royle and Hansen. Oh, and Bond joins the attack well and finds Fashanu. And Clements comes to meet him. Justin Fashanu getting away from Alan Kennedy there, and Clement, seeing the danger, having to make an important save. Away by Johnson. But here's Barham. Ray Kennedy. Now, could there be a break on here? Oh, no, not like that. The ball played far too far ahead of the three front runners. So, half an hour gone, and Liverpool still haven't ended this barren spell of theirs. And Norwich, well organised, holding them as Kennedy puts the ball in again. Powell's header out. Holding them as they did here at Anfield last season, when the match ended in a goalless draw. Here comes Ray Kennedy, though, trying to do something about that today. Oh, and McDermott's there. The header was blocked by Bennett. Oh, well played by Justin Fashanu. He left Thompson for dead there, and he got the cross in just too far ahead of Joe Royle. What a prospect he is at 19, Justin Fashanu. Neil forward again. Here's Ray Kennedy. Oh, good stop by Hansbury. Appeals for handball, I think, by David Johnson. Away from Powell this time. McDermott's made a run through. Here's Neil. Oh, Johnson was the man at the back. And that's on by Royle to Fashanu, and this could be interesting. Fashanu against Phil Thompson. Finding Padden. And Norwich are getting players forward now, and a foul by Neil. Bond. Bennett was nearly in there. And very quickly now, Norwich getting everybody back behind the ball. Here's Dalglish. Hansen. Outside him is Souness. Still Hansen, though. And Alan Hansen puts an end to the Liverpool goal famine with a speculative shot which sends a roar of relief around Anfield. But as soon as went down the outside, Hansen moved the other way, carried on himself, and just let one go. Over Hansbury and into the net, and Liverpool are in the lead. And here's Joe Royle, who might have had an equaliser almost at once. The applause at half-time, very different from the concern which was being shown in the Liverpool side and in the crowd until Alan Hansen, with his first goal of the season, scored from way out and put them in front against the Norwich side, who defended well until then. So Norwich now playing from left to right. Here's Barham. And And I suspect a change of tactics by John Bond at the beginning of the second half. Norwich have got to come out a little bit, and I see that fullback Greg Downs is well forward in this first attack. He's wearing number 3, and he's playing inside right just at the moment. Here's Woods. And that's a foul by Ray Kennedy. Good call by Ray Clements to his captain, Phil Thompson. And it's put Jimmy Case away from the clearance. Anfield unusually quiet this afternoon. Here's Woods. Bond has pushed forward on this side, and Ray Kennedy has come back. Souness. Oh, that's a fine ball, and the goalkeeper comes all the way and saw it very early. Can he get back? Almost certainly now he will. This is Case. Well, that shows how quickly goalkeepers have to think in modern football. Graham Souness bisected the defence with that ball meant for McDermott, and Hansbury was way out of his penalty area. Here's Powell. Hansen. And the break from midfield here by McDermott, and then by Case. And McDermott just goes on running and pulls it behind Dalglish, but here's Ray Kennedy! He's hit the bar! Well, that was possibly the best combined move we've seen from Liverpool this afternoon. And the finishing was just unlucky. And here's Alan Kennedy. And the man at the back is Alan Hansen. Phil Thompson's found a good position. He's also found Ray Kennedy, who's found Jimmy Case. Kennedy, Dalglish! Really driven by Jimmy Case, and Hansbury putting up his arms in a reflex action, but that counts as a good save. Souness. Kennedy. Oh, Johnson coming in from the right. And what a mess. He's outside his area with that handball, surely the goalkeeper. And they want to take it quickly, and Norwich won't let them. Now that's a free kick for the goalkeeper, handling the ball outside the 18-yard line. And the advantage which Liverpool wanted to take by putting the ball down and having the kick taken quickly was denied them by a form of professionalism which has allowed Norwich to regroup. And I use professionalism in quotes there because that was clearly a delaying tactic. It's going to come to McDermott to shoot. Clean as a whistle. Well, in the end, Liverpool got all the advantage they wanted. A free kick given to the goalkeeper coming out of his area and handling the ball. The free kick pushed aside to Terry McDermott, and that firm shot makes it 2-0. And suddenly Anfield is more like its old self. Liverpool beat Crystal Palace here 3-0 on the opening day of the season, so they've got 1 goal to go if they're going to equal that performance. And Norwich have got to do a lot more coming forward if they're going to do anything about losing here today. Here's Neil. Dalglish. Oh! Now then, that was Duncan Forbes waving his arms and saying that Dalglish dived, and the referee is prepared to believe the Norwich number 5. Dalglish wanted a penalty, and he hasn't got it. Norwich not showing enough mettle to disturb Liverpool's lead. Here's Ray Kennedy, offside Dalglish. This is Bond. Barham. Fashanu being challenged by Hansen. Did well to get his cross in there, Fashanu. It's an interesting tactic he employs there when you think he's been shepherded away. But here's Patton and a foul on Jimmy Case. Twice in this match, Fashanu has produced crosses when he seemed to be either off balance or on the wrong side of the defender. Souness to Alan Kennedy. Liverpool coming forward again. And there's McDermott. And here's Dalglish. And this is Case. On the left wing, David Johnson. Alan Kennedy. Johnson again. Dalglish. And Alan Kennedy! An early birthday present for Alan Kennedy, who's 26 tomorrow. And a very simple goal, but so well created by Liverpool. Every pass was picked out to perfection, including the cross to the far post, the header back by Dalglish, and the header in by Alan Kennedy, whose second goal of the season that is. And it makes the score 3-0, as indeed his goal did on the opening day of the season against Crystal Palace. So Liverpool certain now to extend an unbeaten home run, which goes back to January 1978. This will be their 67th consecutive home match, competitive match, at Anfield without defeat. Bond is in there, and driven in at the far post. Bond got the first flick on, but Bennett came in, and Norwich get a goal back through David Bennett. The corner onto the head of Kevin Bond, and Bennett just coming in at the back finished it off. (3-1) to Liverpool. That's the first goal Norwich have managed at Anfield, incidentally, since they won here back in 1975. First league goal on this ground. Johnson. That's Hansen's cross. Oh, a flick on, and Case coming in. And Tony Powell intervening. And an injury for Greg Downs. What happened there was that McDermott just glanced the cross on with his head, and Case came in. Downs tried to stop him. In the end, Powell did, but it was Downs who got the worst of it. But after George Lee came on just to attend to him, Downs is back in action. Jimmy Case now will take the corner. Hansen, not quite. Ray Kennedy. Johnson! And David Johnson wears the look of a man who has scored his first goal of the season after missing so many chances in recent matches. It comes 3 minutes from the end, and it comes from last season's top scorer. He got 27 for Liverpool last season, including 2 at Norwich in the League Cup, but he hadn't scored until today this season, and he finished that off very competently indeed. So with just 2 or 3 minutes left, Norwich losing now by 4-1. And sad memories for them, perhaps, of their 6-0 defeat here 2 years ago, as Johnson gets on the move again. pulled back to him. Fashanu. Phil Neal moving forward with Dalglish, looking for Johnson. And everybody's moving forward now for Liverpool. Here's the other fullback, Alan Kennedy. Into Ray Kennedy. And McDermott. And Dalglish back to Case. Oh, and Case! Quite superbly trying to lift one over the goalkeeper. Jimmy Case on his left foot, not his stronger, but my word, he looked up there and saw where Hansbury was, and the shot was only just too high. Here's Bennett. And Ray Kennedy just laying it off to Dalglish. And 2 points for Liverpool at the end of what had been an uncomfortable week for them. 4 goals to 1, emphatic enough. Bennett with his first league goal for Norwich, getting their consolation. But Liverpool in command, particularly in the second half. The only statistic which I suppose is not in their favour today is the crowd figure. Only 35,315 watched this match. And with unemployment rife on Merseyside, I'm rather afraid to say that that is a sign of the times in football.
Well, having just watched that game, in case anyone thinks I'm hiding, let me say, in my opinion, Kenny Dalglish was extremely unlucky not to be given that penalty decision. But I'm sure that that result and those goals will lift a little bit of the depression around Liverpool at the moment. But at the same time, it brought misery to the Norwich manager, John Bond, who was asked by John Motson whether he felt he still had the capacity to motivate his team.
I've got a lot of time for everybody I work with at Norwich City because they've been ever so good to me, but it is very, very difficult when there's not a lot of money to spend and you have to keep saying things week in and week out and lifting people and making people do things and come to the places like Anfield and produce results. And, you know, I'm a sort of fellow. I've always been a winner. I don't like losing. I probably hate losing as much as anybody in the country, I would think. And even though I knew we were inferior, it's still difficult to come to Anfield and get done 4-1 and knowing that it could have easily been 8-1.
So are you saying that from your point of view and from Norwich City's point of view, it could be said that you might have been there too long or long enough?
Yeah, I don't like saying that because that tends to overlook the problems and run away from the problems, and I don't really like to say that, but I think maybe you can stay at somewhere too long. I mean, I've always said, and I want this to be known, I mean, I've always said that my chairman is a magnificent man and he's never changed and he's always been very good and loyal to me and helped me tremendously. But I do feel, I have felt just recently that if the thing continues that I might just destroy Norwich City and Norwich City might just destroy me if I'm not terribly careful. And I don't want that to happen. There's too much happened in the last 7 years at Norwich City under the chairman and myself for it to go under now. And we must get together and search our souls and discuss it and to see which is the best way out. And if that meant that the best way out was for me to leave, then that's what would have to happen, because I want Norwich City to go on now. I mean, if you go down there now with the cameras or as the pressmen, you'll see a vast difference in the last 7 years, and it really has been built up into something like a First Division football club, and that's what I wanted to remain.
Something of a crossroads, then?
I think, yeah, I think for all of us, really, John, yeah.
Well, in a moment, the match between Arsenal and Spurs. But now a very brief look at the main highlights of the match between Brighton and Hove Albion and West Bromwich Albion. We join the game with 20 minutes gone. Your commentator is Desmond Lynham.
Now McNabb. Try one from there, perhaps. McHale. McNabb again. Now here's a chance. Robinson. So Mike Robinson gets his first league goal for Brighton. He scored in the League Cup in midweek, and he'll be absolutely delighted with that. McNabb fed the ball through eventually. Robinson seemed to have an awful lot of time, and Brighton go ahead. Now McNabb. Williams. Robinson, good header from him, and Smith. What a save from Gordon. Here's Robinson again. Well, it's remarkable how often Smith gets into a goal-scoring position. Robinson won the ball there for him, set him up. Gordon was in the right place at the right time.
Well, Brighton, who led by that Mike Robinson goal after 21 minutes, found themselves under increasing pressure as the second half unfolded.
Smith. Good clearance there from Robinson. From Robson, rather. Now Barnes. Regis with a header, and it's there. Well, what a fine header. Set up by Barnes, looked up first. Fine pinpoint cross from him, and Regis did the business. And now West Brom a chance of a quick break. What a good ball that was to Brown. From Owen. Here's Barnes. Oh, and Barnes will score here. Well, how necessary it was that Foster got that tackle in. Because he went round the fullback like a dream. Nice skill from Barnes again. Cut out by McHale that time. There's a free kick just on the edge of the area. I think Brian Horton, the Brighton captain, thought for a moment it might have been a penalty. He was about to argue the toss about that. Fully a couple of yards outside the penalty area. Dangerous situation for Brighton. Robson's there, Owen, Barnes. Robson, number 7, hands on knees at the moment. There's Owen. It's there. Well, what a simple goal. And you don't often see that. And one wonders whether Graham Mosley was unsighted. Didn't make an effort for it at all. Gregory for McNabb, found space well. Here's Ward. Ward again, chance. Good save from the keeper. Well, fine Brighton build-up there. McNabb started it, made a lot of space for himself. Eventually it fell to Ward, and Godden earned his pay.
Well, that's how the score remained, giving West Bromwich their first league win of the season and upsetting Brighton's manager, Alan Mullery, who admits to feeling it more than most when his team loses.
You get ever so down, don't you, when your team gets beaten? How do you lift yourself afterwards? Because you've got to lift them.
Yeah, I'll lift them. There's no problem there. We've got a game coming up next Wednesday in the League Cup, and I mean, I'll be fine before then, but it's going to be a miserable weekend, that's a cert.
Who pays the price for that? I mean, who suffers, I mean?
Not the kids. I think basically I suffer most of them, my wife a little bit, you know, but not the kids at home. I mean, I should go in and be as perky as I can at home and then sit down and relax and be a bit quiet. And they don't take much notice of me. But I shall curse and make one or two funny remarks, you know, and try and get out of it. But it takes 2 or 3 days, you know. When I read the papers tomorrow, again, I shall relive the game. We probably won't get very good press tomorrow, the way we played. So that Sunday won't be a particularly good day. But come Monday, when we start training again, we'll get over it.
Well, now the game to decide the early season championship of North London between Arsenal, who've started indifferently, and Tottenham Hotspur, who could hardly be more pleased at the way things are going for them. The violence in the crowd before the game started, which we are not showing, confirmed that the hooligans are still winning at the expense of football, and cricket too, by the sound of it. But now let's enjoy a good game with Barry Davis.
On a breezy afternoon, there's a real old-time feeling about this North London derby. The lunatic fringe have tried to spoil it a bit, but there can be no question that the atmosphere has been heightened and the rivalry made keener by Tottenham's promising start to the season. And if history is to be maintained, the biggest crowd of the day will see at least one of the two goalkeepers beaten this afternoon. Whether it be Pat Jennings of Arsenal, still a legend for his exploits when a Spurs player, or at the other end, Mark Kendall, who continues to try to fill the void that Jennings has left. The lineups in front of them, both unchanged. Frank Stapleton, number 9, has scored all Arsenal's goals this season in League and League Cup. Spurs indeed picked the same side for the 5th match, but they reintroduce a substitute, Peter Taylor. So Clive Thomas gets the 87th North London League derby underway, and the record's identical. Both Arsenal and Spurs have each won this fixture 34 times, and each has a home record of 20 wins, 9 draws and 14 defeats. Archibald chasing David O'Leary, and the first touch for Pat Jennings from his skipper. It's John Devine. Ball picked up a bit of pace when it landed, but it's a goal kick. Perriman had a quick look to see what was behind him, but the ball certainly picked up a bit of pace. Spurs skipper, who could well pass Pat Jennings' record of 472 league games this season. He can afford to miss just one. Sansom. Houghton. Young has Crooks behind him and looks. That's too long. John Devine giving that a bit of pace. Was hit against the wind, but he gave it too much. Ricks looking for Sansom, coming left. Arsenal now have 4 players on the 18-yard line. Stapleton, Sansom! Well, you could see what the number 9 was going to do, and Kenny Sansom was moving to the right to take it. Nice use of the chest, setting up a player moving on the right side as we looked. Sansom in a forward position. Spurs back four looking a bit square there. Devine. And he gets the free kick for a push. Young is forward, number 6. Straight to Ricks. And Kendall could well have been made to pay by Ricks for punching the ball when he really should have caught it. Cross was certainly swerving a lot. The goalkeeper palmed it straight to Ricks. Archibald wants it. Tottenham not getting much joy up front. Stapleton. Away by Gordon Smith. Collins. Yoreth quickly at him, and a two-man break here for Tottenham. Beer and Crooks. Huddle now making a third. Oh, what a fierce shot! And well grabbed at about the 4th attempt by Pat Jennings, but he really rifled that across. And Pat Jennings made a good stop, and then with apparent nonchalance made 2 or 3 grabs before getting it firmly under his control. Talbot trying to catch Kendall off his line. Ardiles running diagonally backwards, got himself and his side into trouble. Talbot hoped that Kendall was forward, and he was, but his shot was too high. Handball given against Stapleton. So a little flick cross which might well have reached the middle where Archibald was waiting. He was just trying to charge the ball down. The referee saw it as obviously deliberate handball. Archibald makes the run, gets in behind. Crooks! Well, that's the best combination between the two. The early run by Archibald got in behind the defence, and Crooks is denied by Pat Jennings. What a contrast in the styles of the two sides. Lacey. Ilya. Houghton. O'Leary. Ilya was looking for just that. Ardiles. Ilya. Crooks. And again, the shot from the angle. And Crooks obviously thought that Jennings touched it, but a goal kick has been given. Archibald, the player nearest to just finding the telling touch. Ardiles, back for Archibald, and the free kick has been given against O'Leary, which pleases the Scotsman and surprises the Irishman. The decision given by the Welshman, and it's an Englishman who quietens it down in Brian Talbot. Probably Tottenham's last chance in the half. And the referee wants the ball further back than it is at the moment. Spurs with three players to the left of the wall, right as we look, and that's Huddle's shot, and this is Villiers, and this is Archibald's, and he's the one that looks the unhappiest at the end. Jennings doing well with the earlier part, and Archibald with the easiest opportunity from the stand at least, put it up over the top, and they come off at half-time with a blank score sheet for which this man, Pat Jennings, is in no little way responsible. But Spurs certainly ending the first half very much on the up. They were frustrated for the opening 20 minutes or so, but they put some play together in the last 20 minutes. Spurs' last win in this fixture was back in April '76 when they won 2-0, and amazingly only three players survived: Jennings, Young and Perryman, all then playing for Spurs. Here's Graham Ricks, and here's Price, and the goalkeeper caught in two lines, and Price gets in for really the simplest goal to put Arsenal ahead. How he got there completely unmarked to a cross ball, Spurs will certainly want to know, Kendall will certainly want to know, because within 22 seconds of the kick-off, Arsenal, who were on the rack at the end of the first half, are in front at the start of the second. Well, we might now be going to find out a little bit more about this Tottenham team. because they really dominated play for the last 20 minutes of the first period. Got nothing from it, and now Arsenal have scored. And the last 3 matches between these sides here, Arsenal have scored 1, and that's proved to be enough. Stapleton. Keith Birkinshaw shading the sun from his eyes, must really feel sick. He's never won this fixture since he took over as Tottenham's manager. There's Perryman. Yeah. Crooks. Villiers. Crooks just inside. Oh, well played and well saved. Came inside of Villiers and hit the ball at a time when Jennings may not have had a clear view of it. The goalkeeper down comfortably enough. Bit of a push by Hoddle. Ricks. Just a half a change of gear. Sansom. Another little dance. Oh! Beautifully struck. And too close for comfort for Mark Kendall. Ricks has had 2 shots in the match, both of which have been close. And it was from his cross that Price scored. Ricks. Back again. And Ricks got completely away from Glenn Hoddle then. Kendall had to get down. Spurs with a front line of 4 at the moment. Crooks, Archibald, Ardiles and Villiers. First throw. Houghton took his eye off it. And one ball from Ricks, but stapled it in for number 2. Well, I said earlier in the match that Arsenal are never more dangerous than when they're being penned in their own end. And a goal of such simplicity. One ball by Ricks of, what, 40 yards, maybe more. They put Stapleton in, and he finished in style, just placing it over the goalkeeper who came to meet him. Arsenal supporters applaud. Spurs supporters must feel like weeping. Smith, Ardiles, and here's Sunderland. Villiers, Hoddle, Stapleton's 5th goal of the season already. That's the keepers. Houghton. Ricks. Spurs about to remove a defender, Gordon Smith, and bring on Peter Taylor. All power to Keith Birkinshaw, prepared to gamble as he brings an extra front player into the line. Houghton. Archibald, Crooks, and the bulk of Willie Young impressively in the way again. Barry Daines there on the Tottenham bench. Perryman again. Nicely down by Taylor. Oh! And a classic catch. And where he might look. Here's Ricks, Kendall to meet him. Well, they looked and complained on the Arsenal bench. But a 3-goal victory would surely be rubbing considerable salt into Tottenham's wounds. Trying to get Taylor in. Cooks. Archibald. Good turn. Lovely turn. Taylor. But the easiest of saves from Pat Jennings at the finish. And Jennings is the last to touch the ball. Terry Neal's side have done it over his old club again. By 2 goals to nothing. Keith Birkinshaw offers his hand in congratulation. Graham Ricks, the architect of both goals, scored by Price and by Stapleton. And what makes it worse for the Tottenham supporters is that this was the man who denied them when they had their fine spell in the last 20 minutes of the first half, their former goalkeeper, Pat Jennings.
Well, very simply, Tottenham won the first half and failed to score. Arsenal won the second and did, which will give them confidence as they endeavour to compensate for the loss of Liam Brady. Most people expected Graham Ricks to assume Brady's midfield authority, but as he confirmed to me, that's not possible playing as a wide midfield man.
It puts pressure on me because then I think, oh, I've got to do something magic, you know, and I haven't really if I just knock it simple and do my job. But the longer I'm out of the game, I think that more there's pressure on me to do something extraordinary, which I shouldn't have to do really. But
if I asked you whether you thought you were a wide midfield player or a central one at this moment, your own opinion, what would you say?
I'd say a central midfield. That's where I want to play, central midfield. But I don't mind playing wide on the left at the moment, you know.
Well, it took Graham a long time to get in the game in that position, but when he did, he was devastating, quite often linking with Kenny Sansom who seems really a superb investment. The twin left feet on the left-hand side of the field did really set some problems for Spurs. Here Sanson's on the ball. He flicks it out to Ricks, but so often from that wide position, he finds himself shooting for an angle or providing crosses for other players. I think he'd be so much more effective if he were able to dominate more from the middle of the field and use that sort of control and sweet left foot to initiate moves all over the pitch. Here he just shows the sort of thing he's capable of and how well he can finish really with either foot when the opportunity arises. He'd score a lot more goals from midfield than he does from the left wing. This was the chance with that sweet left foot that he set up for David Price. You can blame Mark Kendall if you like, but on the other hand, that was a curling teaser, tempting him to come, but wondering at the same time whether he should. David Price finishes it off bravely. And the longest through ball in the world could go in the Guinness Book of Records coming up now. It shows that he has tremendous vision. He got the break of the ball there, but he whacked that in the air, wind behind it, wondered if it was ever coming down. But when it did, it was perfect for Frank Stapleton on the second bounce, and I'm afraid Kendall's position there made the job even easier for him. So there's no doubt in my mind, if Arsenal were thinking of buying a midfield player for Graham Rick's sake, and perhaps for England too, he should have a good left foot and want to play wide on the wing. Well, as it happens, it's the second time I've seen Spurs this season, and I've enjoyed both the games. Their mix of nationalities provides an interesting blend, but yesterday they contributed to their own downfall by naively trying to pick their way through the centre of Arsenal defence with 6-inch passes, leaving acres of empty space on the wings. Bob.
Well, no doubt about the big story today. It involves Tony Curry, who yesterday played for Queen's Park Rangers at Chelsea and who might soon find a permanent place at Stamford Bridge. This morning, Chelsea manager Geoff Hurst made an offer for Curry, who has 17 full England caps. Geoff Hurst told me, "I've watched him twice recently and been most impressed. We need a player of his stature." I spoke to Tommy Docherty this morning, asked about Curry's availability and made an offer. Ironically, Tony was rejected by Chelsea as a youngster. And while we're talking about Queen's Park Rangers, I can tell you that 2 more of their internationals look like leaving Loftus Road. Today, Gordon Hill, who cost £175,000 from Derby County last November, was officially transfer listed. And the man we told you about last week, Mickey Walsh, should sign for FC Porto tomorrow. Officials of the Portuguese club fly in tonight. And on Tuesday, Herbert Neumann, the 26-year-old West German international, arrives for talks with Wolves manager John Barnwell. The Cologne midfield player has also been linked with Arsenal. And their manager Terry Neal confirmed this morning, "We were interested in Neumann, but it's now very unlikely that there will be any follow-up." Incidentally, the Arsenal manager also told us today that he was not about to sign Everton's Andy King. Neal said, "The only time I've talked to Gordon Lee this season was about goalkeeper George Wood's transfer." All those First Division managers under pressure just now can take heart from the experience of Bobby Robson at Ipswich. Almost 12 months ago, he found himself bottom of the First Division, but today Ipswich stand proudly at the top, having lost only 1 league match out of 28 since December the 1st. Ipswich were last on top of Division 1 in April 1977. They eventually finished 3rd, and their performance yesterday must have impressed the watching England manager Ron Greenwood. He names his squad on Tuesday for the World Cup match with Norway, but it will be another 24 hours before he knows whether Kevin Keegan's hamstring injury is serious. Well, it might seem a little early to be talking about the FA Cup, but in case you didn't know, next May's final will be the 100th in the history of that famous competition. And yesterday, the tournament actually got underway with the little clubs throughout the country engaged in the preliminary round, all of them no doubt hoping that this year will be their year. Tony Gubber reports.
There are still 251 playing days before the FA Cup final. But the road to Wembley in this Centenary Cup season has got to start somewhere, and it starts here, in a tie that will be watched by almost as many cows in the field at the back as it will spectators. It's Histon against the Earthling Borough Diamonds. Histon are bottom of the Town and Country League and haven't yet won a match.
Everybody, it's the cup, right? One bite of the cherry, a good run in the cup, to a club like this can mean all the difference between having a really good year and having an indifferent year.
This is the first round, our first round of the FA Cup. We've got a long way to go. We know every hurdle we've got to take now is getting that bit nearer to the league clubs, what we want to get at.
Earthling Borough Diamonds haven't won either, and they're next to bottom in the United Counties League. The referee and linesman changed in a garden shed And of all 74 preliminary FA Cup ties this weekend, there was none more humble. That's the gate, is it?
It's okay.
What's the attendance?
Some about 26 people.
Are you going to make a profit?
No. No profit at all.
You can't quite see the twin towers of Wembley from Cambridge, and Arsenal and Liverpool needn't tremble. Histon winger Phil Jolly was doing his best to score.
That's nice.
But Jenny, his bride of 3 weeks, was too busy showing off the wedding photos to watch. The Earthling Borough keeper, Simon Payne, was threatening to become the hero of a goalless draw. What do you think of the match?
Brilliant! Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
There's been no goals yet.
Exactly. Well, it's not a bad action, but not many goals.
Did you pay to come in?
No. Wait till the game started. Then you come in.
Just 12 cup victories would take one of these teams to Wembley.
Hey, come on, now let's step it up!
You enjoying this?
No.
You've made some good saves.
Yeah. Be better if we 1-0 up, wouldn't it?
Fans who didn't pay to come in can make a more useful contribution than others.
The only thing we win this year is the Egg Cup, I think.
Such unkind criticism of part-time players, like Histon right-back Richard Hall, who makes organs, including this one in St Catherine's College Chapel, Cambridge. Could it possibly have been this familiar tune, refreshing the parts that others can't reach, which inspired Histon to score 3 goals in the last 10 minutes?
Better feeling than Wednesday night.
Great victory today, well done, well done. We're on the cup trial. On the cup trial.
When you put that first goal in, your wife was showing the wedding pictures.
Not a bad set of pictures either.
Well, as you can see, the FA Cup well and truly underway. And a reminder that the next football on BBC One is on Wednesday at 10:25, when we'll bring you highlights of one of the second round, second leg League Cup ties. Jim.
Thank you, Bob. Well, in conclusion, let me give you the findings of our first Match of the Day opinion poll on the subject of the cynical foul. 56% of you believe that players committing cynical fouls cold-bloodedly to prevent open goal opportunities should be sent off. 44% believe some kind of penalty kick should be given, as well as a yellow card. No one believes that a yellow card plus a direct free kick is fair or sufficient punishment. Well, that's a loud and clear message to those who run the game. And our final message is that we'll be back at 4:30 next Sunday as Liverpool came back yesterday. Good afternoon.
Hansen. Outside him is Souness. Still Hansen, though. It's going to come to McDermott to shoot. Johnson again. Dalglish. And Alan Kennedy! Hansen, not quite. Ray Kennedy. Johnson!